What's up, everyone? Today we dive into one of history's most disturbing obsessions, the ancient art of brewing love potions that were less about romance and more about psychological warfare disguised as courtship. For thousands of years, desperate lovers have mixed everything from bat blood to human sweat in their quest to control the hearts and minds of their desired partners. But what they created wasn't just gross. It was often deadly, hallucinogenic, and occasionally effective in ways that would make modern pharmaceuticals jealous. Before you settle in, if you could hit that like button and subscribe, but only if you're genuinely into this kind of content, alright? And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I'm always curious about who's on this journey with me. It's amazing to see people from all over the world here. Now dim those lights, maybe turn on a fan for that ambient white noise. And let's take this trip through time together. A journey into the twisted world of ancient chemistry, where love met madness, and the results were often more terrifying than romantic. You're standing in an ancient Mesopotamian temple in 2000 BCE, watching as a priestess carefully grinds dried beetles into a fine powder while chanting incantations over a bubbling cauldron. The smell is indescribable. Part rotting meat, part burned herbs, part something your nose refuses to identify. She's preparing a love potion for a desperate merchant who wants to win the affections of a woman who's rejected him 3 times. But this isn't just about romance. This is about chemical warfare disguised as courtship. And what's brewing in that pot could kill, blind, or drive someone permanently insane. Welcome to the ancient world, where love potions weren't just folk remedies. They were sophisticated pharmaceutical weapons that combined genuine medicinal knowledge with ingredients so bizarre they'd make modern poison control centers weep. The concept of love potions is as old as recorded human history, appearing in the earliest written texts from every major civilization. But what most people don't realize is that these weren't just harmless superstitions. They were early experiments in neuropharmacology that often produced real, measurable effects on human consciousness and behavior. Think medieval chemistry lab, but with zero safety regulations and a complete disregard for human well-being. Ancient Mesopotamian love potions were based on the principle that human emotion could be chemically altered through the careful application of specific substances to the body. Mesopotamian alchemists understood that certain plants, animal products, and mineral compounds could affect mood, perception, and behavior in predictable ways. Their love potions typically contained 3 categories of ingredients: psychoactive substances that could alter consciousness, aphrodisiacs that could increase sexual desire, and what we might call compliance agents, chemicals that could make people more suggestible and less likely to resist unwanted advances. The psychoactive components often included derivatives of plants like mandrake, henbane, and gypsumweed, all of which contain compounds that modern science recognizes as powerful hallucinogens and deliriants. These substances could create states of consciousness where victims became confused, disoriented, and unable to distinguish reality from hallucination. The aphrodisiac elements typically involved animal products that were believed to transfer the sexual characteristics of the source animal to the human consumer. Mesopotamian love potions commonly included powdered rhinoceros horn, ground tiger penis, and various exotic spices that could increase blood flow and create sensations of warmth and arousal. But the most disturbing category was the compliance agents, substances specifically chosen for their ability to make people psychologically vulnerable and emotionally dependent. These often included human biological materials like menstrual blood, saliva, or hair, which were believed to create mystical connections between the person administering the potion and the intended victim. Fun fact that will make you reconsider ancient romance. Mesopotamian love potions were so effective that they were regulated by law, with specific penalties for using them without consent. Ancient legal codes recognized that these substances constituted a form of chemical assault rather than legitimate courtship. The preparation of Mesopotamian love potions involved elaborate rituals that were designed to enhance their psychological impact. The brewing process typically took place during specific astronomical events, involved complex incantations, and required the participation of religious authorities, who could invoke divine power to strengthen the potion's effects. These rituals weren't just superstition, they were sophisticated psychological conditioning techniques that increased both the confidence of the person administering the potion and the suggestibility of the intended victim. When someone believed they had consumed a divinely empowered love potion, they were more likely to experience the expected emotional and physical effects, regardless of the chemical properties of the ingredients. The most prized Mesopotamian love potions were those that could create what ancient texts describe as love sickness, a condition where the victim became obsessively focused on the person who had administered the potion. This condition involved symptoms that modern medicine would recognize as consistent with certain types of brain chemistry alteration: loss of appetite, inability to concentrate on anything except the desired person, physical weakness, and compulsive behavior aimed at gaining approval from the love object. Archaeological evidence suggests that love sickness was a genuine medical condition in ancient Mesopotamia, with documented cases of people becoming so psychologically dependent on their romantic targets that they required intervention from healing priests and physicians. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Mesopotamian love potions was their use in what amounted to systematic sexual assault. These substances were commonly used to incapacitate victims and make them unable to resist unwanted sexual advances. The chemical effects of the psychoactive ingredients could create states of consciousness where victims were aware of what was happening, but unable to respond appropriately or form clear memories of events. Ancient Mesopotamian legal texts contain numerous references to cases where love potions were used in conjunction with sexual crimes, suggesting that these substances were widely recognized as tools for facilitating assault rather than genuine romance. The knowledge of love potion preparation was typically restricted to religious and medical authorities, who understood both the chemical properties of the ingredients and the psychological techniques necessary to maximize their effectiveness. This created a class of professional love potion brewers who operated with quasi-legal status, providing services that were simultaneously illegal and widely tolerated. These specialists developed increasingly sophisticated formulations that could produce specific types of emotional and behavioral responses. Some potions were designed to create temporary infatuation that would last only a few days. Others were formulated to produce long-term psychological dependency that could persist for months or years. The most advanced Mesopotamian love potions were tailored to individual victims based on detailed observation of their personality, behavior patterns, and psychological vulnerabilities. Ancient texts describe love potion specialists conducting extensive surveillance of intended targets to determine which ingredients and preparation methods would be most effective for specific individuals. This personalized approach to chemical manipulation was remarkably sophisticated and represents one of the earliest examples of what we might call psychopharmacological targeting. The use of drugs to exploit specific psychological weaknesses in individual victims. As we move from Mesopotamia to ancient Egypt, we encounter a civilization that took the art of love potion brewing to even more disturbing heights, developing formulations that could allegedly control not just behavior, but memories and dreams. You're now standing in the embalming chamber of an Egyptian temple, watching as a priest carefully extracts specific organs from a freshly deceased corpse. But this isn't standard mummification, he's harvesting ingredients for love potions. The ancient Egyptians believed that certain human organs retained spiritual properties after death that could be transferred to living people through careful preparation and consumption. What you're witnessing is the preparation of a necromantic love potion, a brew that supposedly could make someone fall in love with the dead. Egyptian love potion culture was built around the concept of Ka, the spiritual essence that animated living beings and continued to exist after death. Egyptian alchemists believed that by incorporating elements from corpses into their formulations, they could create potions that would bind the living to the spiritual realm in ways that transcended normal romantic attachment. The most sought-after ingredients for Egyptian love potions came from people who had died while experiencing intense emotions. The hearts of individuals who had died of love sickness were considered especially potent, as were the brains of people who had been executed for passionate crimes. Egyptian love potion specialists would pay grave robbers premium prices for organs from emotionally significant corpses. Think ancient organ trafficking, but for supernatural date rape instead of medical transplantation. Egyptian necromantic love potions typically involved a complex preparation process that combined fresh human tissue with exotic spices, rare minerals, and psychoactive plants. The mixture would be aged in sealed containers for specific periods, often corresponding to astronomical cycles, while being exposed to treatments designed to enhance its spiritual potency. The resulting concoctions were believed to create romantic attachments that persisted beyond death. Victims of necromantic love potions allegedly became so psychologically bound to their romantic targets that they would continue to experience obsessive love even after the death of either party involved. Modern analysis of Egyptian medical texts suggests that these potions probably contained genuine psychoactive compounds that could produce long-lasting changes in brain chemistry. The combination of human tissue decomposition products with hallucinogenic plants could have created formulations that produced persistent psychological effects through mechanisms that ancient Egyptians didn't understand but could observe and exploit. But Egyptian love potions weren't limited to necromantic applications. Egyptian alchemists also developed sophisticated living love potions that were designed to be administered to conscious, healthy victims through food, drink, or skin contact. Egyptian living love potions often incorporated secretions from sacred animals that were believed to possess supernatural romantic powers. Crocodile musk, ibis saliva, and cat urine were common ingredients, chosen because these animals were associated with Egyptian deities who governed love, sexuality, and emotional attachment. The preparation of these animal-based love potions involved elaborate ceremonies that were designed to transfer the spiritual essence of the sacred animals to the human consumer. Live animals would be subjected to specific treatments designed to intensify their romantic characteristics, then harvested for their most potent secretions while still alive. These ceremonies often took place in temple complexes where the spiritual power of the location could enhance the potency of the ingredients. Egyptian priests developed detailed protocols for timing these harvesting rituals to coincide with celestial events that were believed to maximize the romantic effectiveness of the resulting potions. The psychological effects of Egyptian love potions were enhanced through elaborate administration rituals that were designed to maximize their impact on the victim's consciousness. The potions were typically given during religious festivals or other emotionally significant events, when victims would be in heightened psychological states that made them more susceptible to chemical influence. Egyptian love potion specialists also developed techniques for disguising the taste and appearance of their formulations, so they could be administered without the victim's knowledge. Advanced Egyptian potions could be incorporated into food, cosmetics, or even incense, so that victims would be exposed to their effects through multiple sensory channels simultaneously. Fun fact that explains a lot about ancient Egyptian culture: many of the cosmetics and perfumes that wealthy Egyptians used daily contained low-level psychoactive compounds that were originally developed for love potion applications. Egyptian beauty culture was essentially a system for continuous, mild chemical manipulation of romantic and social behavior. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Egyptian love potion culture was its integration with medical practice. Egyptian physicians routinely prescribed love potions as treatments for various psychological and physical ailments, creating a medical system where chemical manipulation of emotion was considered standard healthcare. Egyptian medical texts describe love potions being used to treat depression, anxiety, sexual dysfunction, and various forms of what we would now recognize as mental illness. These treatments often involved long-term administration of psychoactive substances that could produce permanent changes in personality and behavior. The line between medical treatment and romantic manipulation was deliberately blurred in Egyptian culture, creating a system where victims of love potions could be convinced that their altered mental states were beneficial rather than harmful. This approach was far more effective than crude chemical assault because it made victims complicit in their own manipulation. Egyptian love potion culture also developed sophisticated techniques for creating mutual dependency between romantic partners. Advanced formulations could create situations where both parties became chemically dependent on each other, creating relationships that were sustained by biochemical addiction rather than genuine emotional connection. These mutual dependency potions were often used in arranged marriages to ensure that couples would remain bonded despite having no natural romantic compatibility. The chemical effects could create artificial emotional attachment that was indistinguishable from genuine love to the people experiencing it. But as sophisticated as Egyptian love potion culture was, it pales in comparison to what was developing simultaneously in ancient India, where Ayurvedic medicine was creating love potions that were designed to work on multiple levels of human consciousness simultaneously. You're sitting in an ancient Indian ashram watching as a learned physician carefully prepares what he calls Kamadeva's tears, a love potion named after the Hindu god of desire. But this isn't just a chemical concoction. It's a sophisticated pharmaceutical system that's designed to affect the victim's body, mind, emotions, and spiritual development simultaneously. The ingredients include rare herbs gathered during specific lunar phases, metals that have been subjected to alchemical transformation, and human biological materials that have been consecrated through elaborate religious rituals. Indian Ayurvedic love potions were based on the principle that human consciousness operated on multiple interconnected levels that could be influenced through carefully balanced chemical interventions. Ayurvedic physicians understood that effective love potions needed to address not just physical attraction and emotional attachment, but also psychological compatibility and spiritual connection. Indian love potions typically contained 4 categories of ingredients, each designed to affect a different aspect of human consciousness. Physical ingredients affected bodily sensations and sexual response. Emotional ingredients influenced mood, attachment, and psychological state. Mental ingredients affected thought patterns, decision-making, and perception. Spiritual ingredients were believed to create connections that transcended normal human consciousness. The physical ingredients often included powerful aphrodisiacs, derived from rare plants and animal products. Indian love potions commonly contained extracts from plants like ashwagandha, shatavari, and safed musli, which modern science recognizes as having genuine effects on sexual function and hormone production. The emotional ingredients typically involved substances that could alter neurotransmitter activity in ways that increased feelings of attachment and reduced critical thinking about romantic relationships. These often included compounds derived from specific flowers, fruits, and spices that had been processed using techniques designed to concentrate their psychoactive properties. The mental ingredients were perhaps the most sophisticated aspect of Indian love potions. These included nootropic substances that could enhance suggestibility while reducing analytical thinking. Victims under the influence of these compounds would become more likely to accept romantic advances, while being less able to evaluate whether those advances were in their best interests. Think ancient Rohypnol, but with spiritual justification and medical legitimacy. The spiritual ingredients were the most controversial aspect of Indian love potions. These typically included human biological materials that were believed to create karmic connections between the person administering the potion and the intended victim. The theory was that consuming someone's bodily essence would create spiritual bonds that would persist across multiple lifetimes. Indian love potion preparation involved elaborate purification rituals that were designed to enhance the spiritual potency of the ingredients. The person brewing the potion would undergo weeks of fasting, meditation, and spiritual practice to ensure that their consciousness was properly alived for the work they were undertaking. The actual brewing process typically took place during astrologically significant periods when the cosmic forces were believed to be most favorable for creating emotional bonds. The preparation could take months from start to finish, with different ingredients being added at specific times according to complex astrological calculations. The administration of Indian love potions also involved sophisticated ritual elements that were designed to maximize their psychological impact. The potions were typically given during religious ceremonies or other spiritually significant events, when victims would be in altered states of consciousness that made them more susceptible to chemical influence. Indian physicians developed detailed protocols for monitoring the effects of love potions and adjusting dosages to produce specific romantic outcomes. They could create potions that would produce temporary infatuation, long-term devotion, or various forms of psychological dependency, depending on the desired result. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Indian love potion culture was its integration with spiritual practice. Many Indian spiritual traditions included love potions as legitimate tools for spiritual development, arguing that creating artificial emotional bonds could lead to genuine spiritual growth through the experience of selfless love. This spiritual justification made Indian love potions particularly effective because victims could be convinced that their altered mental states were signs of spiritual progress rather than chemical manipulation. The tradition of using love potions in spiritual contexts persisted in Indian culture for centuries and influenced later developments in both Eastern and Western spiritual practices. Indian love potion specialists also developed techniques for creating what they called divine love, potions that were designed to redirect romantic attachment away from human targets towards spiritual ideals and religious figures. These formulations were used in religious contexts to create mystical experiences that were indistinguishable from genuine spiritual insight. The line between spiritual practice and chemical manipulation was deliberately blurred in Indian love potion culture, creating a system where victims could experience profound altered states of consciousness while being convinced that these experiences were entirely natural and beneficial. As we move from the sophisticated pharmaceutical systems of ancient India to the folk traditions of Europe, we encounter a completely different approach to love potion brewing, one that was based more on psychological terror than chemical sophistication. You're standing in a dark European forest in 1200 CE, watching as a wise woman carefully collects blood from a freshly killed bat, while chanting in a language that predates Latin. The blood will be mixed with human sweat, crushed beetles, and herbs gathered from a cemetery at midnight. This isn't just folk medicine, it's psychological warfare designed to terrify victims into compliance through sheer revulsion and supernatural fear. Medieval European love potions were based on the principle that romantic attraction could be created through sympathetic magic, the belief that consuming substances associated with love, desire, or sexual power would transfer those qualities to the consumer. European folk tradition developed elaborate systems of correspondence between natural materials and human emotions that guided the selection of love potion ingredients. European love potions typically contained ingredients that were chosen more for their symbolic and psychological significance than for any genuine chemical properties. The goal was often to create such disgust and revulsion in the person administering the potion that their desperation would be communicated to the intended victim through behavioral cues rather than chemical effects. The most common European love potion ingredients included human biological materials like menstrual blood, saliva, hair, and nail clippings. These substances were believed to create mystical connections between lovers, but their primary effect was probably psychological, both on the person brewing the potion and on victims who discovered what they had consumed. European folk tradition also included ingredients that were specifically chosen for their revolting qualities: bat blood, spider eggs, powdered bones from executed criminals, and various forms of human waste. The theory was that love, created through consumption of disgusting materials, would be more intense and lasting than normal romantic attraction. Think medieval psychological torture disguised as courtship rituals. The preparation of European love potions involved elaborate rituals that were designed to enhance their supernatural credibility. These rituals typically took place in locations associated with death or supernatural power. Cemeteries, ruins, crossroads, or other liminal spaces where the boundary between the natural and supernatural world was believed to be thin. European love potion brewers often incorporated elements of Christian symbolism into their preparations, creating formulations that combined pagan folk magic with corrupted religious ritual. These hybrid approaches were particularly effective because they could exploit both supernatural fears and religious guilt to enhance the psychological impact of the potions. The administration of European love potions typically involved deception and stealth. Unlike the elaborate ceremonial approaches used in other cultures, European love potions were usually given secretly, through food or drink. The goal was to create romantic attachment without the victim's knowledge or consent. European folk tradition developed sophisticated techniques for disguising the taste and appearance of love potions so they could be incorporated into common foods and beverages. Advanced practitioners could create formulations that were virtually undetectable when mixed into ale, wine, or bread. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of European love potion culture was its integration with accusations of witchcraft. Women who were skilled in love potion preparation were often suspected of supernatural powers, creating a culture where romantic manipulation was associated with demonic influence and spiritual corruption. This association with witchcraft made European love potions particularly dangerous to prepare and administer. Many women were executed for allegedly using supernatural means to control romantic relationships, regardless of whether their methods involved genuine chemical substances or purely psychological manipulation. The fear of witchcraft accusations also drove European love potion culture underground, creating secret traditions that were passed down through families and hidden communities. This secrecy enhanced the supernatural credibility of love potions, while making them more difficult for authorities to regulate or control. European love potion culture also developed unique approaches to creating mutual, romantic obsession between unwilling partners. These techniques often involved elaborate rituals where both parties would unknowingly consume love potion ingredients, creating situations where neither person understood why they were experiencing sudden, intense romantic attraction. These mutual love potions were particularly effective because they created situations that appeared to involve spontaneous romantic chemistry rather than artificial manipulation. Victims would experience genuine emotional and physical symptoms of infatuation without understanding that their feelings had been chemically induced. But as we'll discover, European folk traditions were actually quite primitive compared to what was developing simultaneously in the Islamic world, where Islamic alchemists were creating love potions that combined sophisticated chemistry with advanced understanding of human psychology. You're standing in a 10th century Baghdad laboratory, watching as an Islamic alchemist carefully distills a love potion using techniques that won't be rediscovered in Europe for another 400 years. His equipment includes precision glassware, temperature-controlled heating systems, and measurement tools that allow him to create formulations with pharmaceutical accuracy. This isn't folk magic, it's advanced chemistry applied to the manipulation of human consciousness. Islamic love potion culture was built on the foundation of advanced scientific knowledge that combined Greek philosophical traditions with Persian alchemical techniques and Indian pharmaceutical wisdom. Islamic alchemists understood that effective love potions required precise control of chemical composition, dosage, and administration methods. Islamic love potions typically contained carefully balanced combinations of known psychoactive substances that could produce predictable effects on human consciousness and behavior. Islamic alchemists had access to rare ingredients from across the known world and possessed the technical knowledge necessary to extract and concentrate their active compounds. The most sophisticated Islamic love potions were designed to work through multiple mechanisms simultaneously. They might contain aphrodisiacs that increased sexual desire, psychedelics that created feelings of emotional connection, and sedatives that reduced critical thinking about romantic relationships. Islamic alchemists also developed techniques for creating time-killing love potions that would produce different effects at different stages of consumption. A single dose might initially create feelings of euphoria and attraction, then transition to deeper emotional attachment, and finally establish long-term psychological dependency. Think ancient extended deletion pharmaceuticals, but designed for romantic manipulation rather than medical treatment. The preparation of Islamic love potions involved sophisticated laboratory techniques that included distillation, crystallization, and various forms of chemical purification. The Islamic alchemists could create pure compounds that were far more potent and predictable than the crude mixtures used in other cultures. Islamic love potion culture also developed advanced understanding of dosage relationships and individual variation in response to psychoactive substances. Islamic physicians could calculate appropriate doses based on the victim's body weight, age, health status, and psychological characteristics. The administration of Islamic love potions often involved sophisticated delivery systems that could ensure precise dosing and optimal absorption. Islamic alchemists developed techniques for incorporating love potion ingredients into food, cosmetics, incense, and even fabric treatments that would expose victims to active compounds through multiple routes simultaneously. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Islamic love potion culture was its integration with legitimate medical practice. Islamic physicians routinely prescribed formulations that were essentially love potions for the treatment of various psychological and relationship problems. Islamic medical texts describe love potions being used to treat marital discord, sexual dysfunction, depression, and various forms of emotional instability. These treatments were considered standard medical care rather than magical manipulation, creating a culture where chemical intervention in romantic relationships was professionally accepted and socially approved. This medical legitimacy made Islamic love potions particularly effective because victims could be convinced that their altered mental states were beneficial medical treatments rather than romantic manipulation. The tradition of using love potions in medical contexts influenced later developments in both Islamic and European medicine. Islamic love potion culture also developed sophisticated approaches to creating what they called noble love, romantic attachments, that were considered spiritually and socially beneficial rather than merely physical or emotional. These formulations were designed to enhance spiritual compatibility and intellectual connection rather than just sexual attraction. The concept of noble love potions influenced the development of courtly love traditions in medieval Europe and contributed to later romantic ideologies that emphasized spiritual and intellectual connection over purely physical attraction. As we prepare to explore how these ancient traditions influenced later developments in love potion culture, remember that we're not just discussing historical curiosities. We're examining the origins of techniques for chemical manipulation of human emotion that continue to influence our world today. The next time you consume any substance that affects your mood, energy, or social behavior, from caffeine to alcohol to prescription medications, remember that you're participating in a tradition that stretches back thousands of years to people who understood that chemistry could be used to alter human consciousness in ways that served the interests of others rather than yourself. Because the greatest lesson of ancient love potion culture isn't just about romance, it's about understanding how chemical substances can be used to manipulate human behavior, and how important it is to maintain control over what we put into our bodies and minds. The ancient world taught us that love potions were never really about love. They were about power, control, and the exploitation of human vulnerability through chemical means. And that lesson is as relevant today as it was 5,000 years ago. You're standing in Leonardo da Vinci's secret laboratory in 1503, watching as the Renaissance master carefully dissects a human heart while taking notes for what he calls his Anatomia Amoris, the anatomy of love. But this isn't just artistic study. Leonardo is developing love potions based on his revolutionary understanding of human circulation and nervous system function. His formulations will combine cutting-edge anatomical knowledge with alchemical traditions to create love potions so effective they'll influence European romantic culture for centuries. Welcome to the Renaissance, where the scientific revolution didn't eliminate belief in love potions. It made them more sophisticated, more dangerous, and more effective than anything the ancient world had ever imagined. The Renaissance marked a crucial turning point in love potion culture. Where ancient civilizations had relied on folk knowledge and religious tradition, Renaissance alchemists had access to rediscovered classical texts, advanced anatomical understanding, and emerging chemical techniques that allowed them to create formulations with unprecedented precision and potency. Think medieval folk medicine meets cutting-edge pharmaceutical research, but with zero ethical oversight and a casual disregard for consent. Leonardo da Vinci's approach to love potion development was characteristic of Renaissance innovation. He understood that effective romantic manipulation required detailed knowledge of human anatomy, particularly the cardiovascular and nervous systems that controlled emotional and physical responses to attraction. Leonardo's anatomical studies revealed that human emotional states were directly connected to physiological processes that could be influenced through chemical intervention. His dissections of executed criminals allowed him to map the relationship between different organs and emotional responses, creating the foundation for love potions that could target specific aspects of romantic attraction. Leonardo's most famous love potion formulation, preserved in his coded notebooks, combined extracts from the human heart with compounds derived from specific plants that he had determined could mimic the chemical processes involved in natural romantic attraction. The preparation required fresh human cardiac tissue that had to be harvested within hours of death and processed using distillation techniques that Leonardo had adapted from his studies of water flow and hydraulic engineering. The psychological sophistication of Leonardo's approach was as remarkable as its chemical complexity. He understood that effective love potions needed to create not just temporary physical attraction, but lasting emotional attachment that would survive the initial chemical effects. His formulations were designed to trigger cascading psychological responses that would create genuine romantic obsession, indistinguishable from natural love. Leonardo's work influenced a generation of Renaissance scholars who applied emerging scientific methods to the development of increasingly sophisticated love potions. The combination of classical alchemical knowledge with Renaissance anatomical discoveries created a golden age of romantic manipulation that produced some of the most effective and dangerous love potions in human history. But Leonardo's scientific approach was only one aspect of Renaissance love potion culture. In the courts and palaces of Renaissance Europe, love potions became tools of political intrigue and social advancement that could determine the fate of kingdoms and the rise and fall of noble families. Now in the opulent palace of Catherine de' Medici in 1560, watching as the Queen of France's personal alchemist prepares what court insiders call liquid diplomacy, love potions designed to influence the romantic attachments of European nobility for political advantage. The ingredients include rare spices from the New World, exotic animal products from Africa, and human biological materials collected from some of the most powerful people in Europe. Renaissance court culture elevated love potion brewing to the level of high art and political necessity. European nobles understood that controlling romantic relationships was essential for maintaining and expanding political power. and they invested enormous resources in developing love potions that could influence marriages, alliances, and succession disputes. Catherine de' Medici's court became legendary for its sophisticated love potion culture. As a member of the Medici family, renowned for their patronage of arts and sciences, Catherine had access to the most advanced alchemical knowledge of her era, combined with political motivations that made her willing to use love potions as weapons of statecraft. Catherine's love potions were designed to serve specific political objectives. Some formulations were created to ensure the romantic fidelity of her own family members, preventing them from forming attachments that might compromise Medici political interests. Others were designed to manipulate the romantic behavior of rival nobles, creating situations where advantageous marriages could be arranged, or disadvantageous ones prevented. The most sophisticated of Catherine's love potions were those designed to influence international diplomacy through romantic manipulation. By creating artificial romantic attachments between nobles from different countries, Catherine could establish informal political alliances that complemented formal diplomatic relationships. Think ancient honeypot operations, but with actual pharmaceutical support and royal backing. Catherine's alchemists developed techniques for administering love potions through elaborate court entertainments that provided perfect cover for chemical manipulation. Masquerade balls, banquets, and theatrical performances became opportunities to expose targeted individuals to love potion ingredients through food, drink, cosmetics, and even the air they breathed. Renaissance court love potions often incorporated exotic ingredients that reflected the global reach of European exploration and trade. New World plants like tobacco and cacao provided novel psychoactive compounds that European alchemists learned to combine with traditional love potion ingredients to create formulations with unprecedented effects. African and Asian spices, animal products, and mineral compounds added new dimensions to Renaissance love potion chemistry. European alchemists gained access to ingredients like rhinoceros horn, tiger bone, and various exotic plant extracts that had been used in traditional love potions by other cultures for centuries. But perhaps the most disturbing innovation of Renaissance court love potion culture was the systematic use of human biological materials collected from specific individuals for targeting purposes. The Renaissance alchemists believed that incorporating biological materials from the intended victim into love potion formulations would create stronger and more lasting romantic attachments. This led to the development of elaborate spy networks focused on collecting hair, nail clippings, saliva, and other biological materials from targeted nobles. Court servants, musicians, dancers, and other palace staff were recruited to gather these materials through close personal contact with their targets. The collection and use of personal biological materials became so sophisticated that Renaissance courts developed what amounted to biological intelligence operations that rivaled modern espionage in their complexity and scope. Renaissance love potion culture also pioneered the use of what we might call designer drug formulations that were customized for specific individuals based on detailed study of their personality, behavior patterns, and psychological vulnerabilities. Renaissance alchemists would conduct extensive surveillance of their targets, analyzing everything from dietary preferences and sleep patterns to emotional responses and social relationships. This information would be used to create personalized love potion formulations that were designed to exploit specific psychological weaknesses and create predictable romantic outcomes. The sophistication of this personalized approach was remarkable and represents one of the earliest examples of what modern science would recognize as precision pharmacology. The use of detailed individual information to optimize drug effects for specific patients. But Renaissance love potion culture wasn't limited to court intrigue and political manipulation. The same period saw the development of commercial love potion industries that served the romantic needs of ordinary Europeans, with formulations that were both more accessible and more dangerous than anything that had existed before. You're walking through the narrow streets of Renaissance Venice in 1580, past shops that openly advertised their love potion services, with signs depicting hearts, arrows, and mysterious symbols. Inside one of these establishments, you watch as a skilled craftsman prepares dozens of different love potion formulations for customers, ranging from desperate merchants to lovesick students. The air is thick with exotic spices and chemical vapors that make your eyes water and your head spin. Renaissance commercial love potion culture was driven by the growth of urban populations and the emergence of merchant classes, who had disposable income but lacked the political connections necessary to access court-quality alchemical services. This created a market for love potions that were effective enough to produce real results but affordable enough for ordinary citizens. Venice became the center of European commercial love potion trade, due to its position as a hub for international commerce and its relatively liberal attitude toward activities that other cities considered immoral or dangerous. Venetian love potion shops operated with quasi-legal status, providing services that were technically illegal but widely tolerated due to their economic value. Venetian love potion merchants developed standardized formulations that could be mass-produced using imported ingredients and distributed throughout Europe. These commercial love potions typically contained psychoactive compounds derived from New World plants, aphrodisiacs extracted from exotic animals, and various chemical substances that could produce predictable effects on human behavior. The quality control standards for commercial love potions were remarkably sophisticated. Venetian merchants understood that their reputation depended on providing products that produced consistent results, so they developed testing protocols and quality assurance procedures that ensured their formulations met specific potency standards. Commercial love potions were typically sold with detailed instructions for administration and warnings about potential side effects. Renaissance love potion merchants were among the first to recognize that customer satisfaction required not just effective products, but education about proper usage and risk management. The commercial love potion trade also drove innovation in packaging and preservation techniques. Venetian merchants developed methods for storing love potions in portable containers that could preserve their potency during long-distance transport and extend their shelf life for months or even years. But perhaps the most significant impact of commercial love potion culture was its role in democratizing romantic manipulation. Where love potions had previously been tools available only to the wealthy and powerful, Renaissance commercial markets made chemical romantic manipulation accessible to anyone with sufficient financial resources. This democratization had profound social consequences, creating a culture where chemical romantic manipulation became normalized as a legitimate business practice rather than an exotic court intrigue or religious ritual. Fun fact that will change how you see Renaissance romance. Many of the romantic customs and courtship rituals that we associate with Renaissance culture were actually developed as delivery mechanisms for commercial love potions, disguised as traditional romantic gestures. The Renaissance also saw the development of love potion antidotes, formulations designed to counteract the effects of romantic manipulation and restore victims to their natural emotional state. The existence of antidotes created a kind of chemical arms race between love potion manufacturers and those seeking protection from their effects. Renaissance antidote culture was particularly sophisticated in Italy, where the prevalence of love potion use created a market for protective measures. Italian alchemists developed formulations that could prevent love potion effects if taken before exposure, neutralize love potions that had already been administered, and even reverse long-term psychological changes caused by extended love potion use. The development of love potion antidotes also led to the creation of more sophisticated love potions that were designed to be resistant to known antidotes. This created an escalating cycle of chemical innovation that drove rapid advances in Renaissance pharmacological knowledge. But as the Renaissance gave way to the Enlightenment, love potion culture began to encounter new challenges. From emerging scientific rationalism and changing social attitudes toward romantic manipulation. You're sitting in an 18th century Paris salon, listening as Voltaire delivers a scathing critique of love potion culture. arguing that chemical romantic manipulation represents everything that is backward and superstitious about traditional European society. But even as Enlightenment philosophers denounce love potions as irrational superstition, new forms of romantic manipulation are being developed that use emerging scientific knowledge to create more sophisticated and effective methods of controlling human emotion. The Enlightenment created a cultural crisis for love potion traditions. Enlightenment emphasis on reason, individual autonomy, and scientific method challenged the moral and intellectual foundations of romantic manipulation, while simultaneously providing new tools for creating more effective forms of chemical control. Enlightenment philosophers like Voltaire, Diderot, and Rousseau argued that love potions represented violations of individual autonomy and rational choice that were incompatible with emerging concepts of human rights and personal dignity. This philosophical opposition created social pressure to abandon love potion practices and develop more ethical approaches to romantic relationships. But Enlightenment scientific advances also provided new opportunities for romantic manipulation that were more sophisticated and less detectable than traditional love potion methods. Enlightenment understanding of human psychology, physiology, and chemistry created possibilities for controlling human emotion that surpassed anything that had been achieved through traditional alchemical approaches. The result was a split in Enlightenment culture between official condemnation of love potion practices and unofficial development of new romantic manipulation techniques that were based on emerging scientific knowledge rather than traditional folk wisdom. Enlightenment love manipulation typically operated through what we might call rational seduction, systematic approaches to controlling romantic behavior that used scientific understanding of human psychology to create artificial romantic attachments without obviously chemical interventions. These approaches often involved sophisticated social manipulation techniques that were designed to create emotional dependency and romantic obsession through carefully orchestrated psychological conditioning rather than direct chemical administration. Think modern pickup artist culture, but with 18th century intellectual pretensions and scientific justification. Enlightenment rational seduction techniques were often more effective than traditional love potions because they created genuine psychological changes that were indistinguishable from natural romantic development. Victims of rational seduction experienced authentic emotional responses that they attributed to their own feelings rather than external manipulation. The sophistication of Enlightenment romantic manipulation influenced later developments in advertising, political propaganda, and mass media that used similar psychological techniques to influence human behavior on a social scale. But perhaps the most significant Enlightenment innovation in romantic manipulation was the development of what we might call environmental love potions, systematic modifications to social and physical environments that could influence romantic behavior without requiring direct administration of chemical substances. Enlightenment environmental love potions operated through careful control of lighting, music, scents, and social dynamics in ways that could create romantic moods and enhance attraction between targeted individuals. These techniques were often used in social settings like salons, theaters, and private parties, where multiple potential romantic connections could be influenced simultaneously. The development of environmental love potions represented a shift from individual chemical manipulation to social engineering approaches that could influence romantic behavior at a cultural level. As we move into the 19th century, we encountered the development of love potion cultures that combined traditional chemical approaches with emerging understanding of hypnosis, suggestion, and what would eventually become known as psychology. You're in a Victorian London parlour in 1880, watching as a fashionable mesmerist demonstrates his ability to create instant romantic attraction between strangers through a combination of hypnotic techniques and carefully administered chemical substances. His audience of wealthy socialites doesn't realize they're witnessing the birth of psychological love potions, formulations that work as much through mental conditioning as chemical effects. Victorian love potion culture was shaped by emerging scientific understanding of the relationship between mind and body that created new possibilities for romantic manipulation. Victorian scientists had begun to understand that human emotion and behavior could be influenced through psychological techniques that were as powerful as chemical interventions. The development of mesmerism and hypnosis provided Victorian love potion practitioners with tools for enhancing the psychological effects of chemical formulation. By combining traditional love potion ingredients with hypnotic suggestion, Victorian practitioners could create romantic attachments that were both chemically and psychologically reinforced. Victorian psychological love potions typically involved elaborate preparation rituals that were designed to enhance the suggestibility of both the person administering the potion and the intended victim. These rituals often incorporated elements of spiritualism, mesmerism, and emerging psychological techniques in ways that maximized the psychological impact of the chemical components. The Victorian era also saw the development of love potion cultures that were specifically designed to exploit the social and economic vulnerabilities of women in patriarchal society. Victorian love potions were often used as tools for ensuring women's romantic compliance with male-dominated social arrangement. Victorian women were frequently targeted with love potions that were designed to create artificial romantic attachment to men who could provide economic security, but who might not be naturally attractive romantic partners. These formulations were often administered by family members who believed they were helping women make appropriate romantic choices. The use of love potions to control women's romantic behavior became so common in Victorian culture that it influenced legal and medical approaches to women's autonomy and decision-making capacity. Victorian medical texts frequently described women's romantic choices as evidence of mental instability that required male guidance and control. But Victorian love potion culture also produced some of the most sophisticated antidote and protection techniques in history. Victorian women developed underground networks for sharing information about love potion identification, neutralization, and prevention that represented one of the earliest forms of feminist resistance to chemical romantic manipulation. These networks preserved knowledge about love potion antidotes and developed new protective techniques that combined traditional folk wisdom with emerging scientific understanding of pharmacology and psychology. Victorian antidote culture was particularly sophisticated in its understanding of the psychological components of love potion effects. Victorian women understood that recovering from love potion manipulation required not just chemical neutralization, but psychological rehabilitation that could restore natural emotional responses and decision-making capacity. The techniques developed by Victorian women for recovering from love potion manipulation influenced later developments in psychology and psychiatry that recognized the importance of addressing both chemical and psychological aspects of emotional manipulation. As we move into the 20th century, we encounter the development of industrial love potion production that combined mass manufacturing techniques with scientific quality control to create love potions that were more potent, more reliable, and more dangerous than anything that had existed before. You're standing in a secret German pharmaceutical laboratory in 1935, watching as chemists wearing lab coats and safety goggles synthesize compounds that will be incorporated into what Nazi scientists call Liebestod, love-death potions, designed to create romantic obsession so intense that victims will sacrifice anything, including their lives, for the objects of their artificial affection. The 20th century brought industrialization to love potion production, with governments and corporations investing in research and development programs that applied modern scientific methods to the ancient art of romantic manipulation. The result was the creation of love potions that surpassed anything that had been achieved through traditional methods. Nazi Germany's love potion research was part of a broader program of psychological warfare development that sought to create chemical and psychological weapons that could control human behavior on a mass scale. Nazi scientists understood that romantic obsession could be weaponized to create populations that were willing to sacrifice everything for ideological causes. Nazi love potions were designed to create artificial romantic attachment to abstract concepts like nation, race, and political ideology, rather than specific individuals. These formulations combined traditional aphrodisiac compounds with newly discovered psychoactive substances that could create religious-level devotion to political ideas. The psychological conditioning techniques developed by Nazi scientists influenced later developments in advertising, political propaganda, and mass media that used similar approaches to create artificial emotional attachments to consumer products and political movements. Think modern brand loyalty, but with pharmaceutical enhancement and totalitarian objectives. But Nazi love potion research was only one aspect of 20th century industrial romantic manipulation. The same period saw the development of commercial love potion industries that used mass production techniques to create affordable formulations for consumer markets. Post-war America saw the emergence of commercial love potion companies that marketed their products through magazines, mail-order catalogs, and eventually television advertising. These companies claimed to offer scientifically formulated love potions that could create guaranteed romantic results without the dangerous side effects associated with traditional formulations. American commercial love potions typically contained mild stimulants, mood enhancers, and confidence boosters that could create temporary improvements in social attractiveness without producing genuine romantic obsession. These formulations were designed to be safe enough for mass consumption while still providing noticeable effects that would encourage repeat purchases. The marketing of commercial love potions became increasingly sophisticated throughout the 20th century, using emerging understanding of consumer psychology to create advertising campaigns that exploited romantic insecurity and social anxiety. But perhaps the most significant 20th century development in love potion culture was the emergence of pharmaceutical approaches to romantic enhancement that operated through legitimate medical channels rather than underground alchemical traditions. Modern pharmaceutical development of drugs that affect mood, confidence, and social behavior has created new possibilities for romantic manipulation that are more effective and socially acceptable than traditional love potions. Prescription medications for depression, anxiety, and attention disorders can significantly alter personality characteristics that affect romantic attractiveness and relationship behavior. The integration of romantic enhancement into legitimate medical practice has created a culture where chemical modification of romantic behavior is not only accepted but encouraged as a form of healthcare. As we prepare to explore how modern pharmaceutical and technological developments have created new forms of romantic manipulation that surpass anything achieved by traditional love potion cultures, remember that we're not just discussing historical curiosities, we're examining the evolution of techniques for controlling human emotion and behavior that continue to influence our world today through prescription medications, recreational drugs, cosmetics, food additives, and various other chemical substances that affect our romantic behavior in ways that most people don't recognize or understand. The history of love potions teaches us that the desire to control romantic behavior through chemical means is a constant in human culture, and that each era develops new techniques that are presented as more scientific, more ethical, or more effective than what came before. But the fundamental dynamic remains the same. Those who control the chemicals that affect human emotion and behavior have power over the most intimate aspects of human experience, and understanding that dynamic is essential for maintaining autonomy over our own romantic lives in an age when chemical romantic manipulation has become more sophisticated and pervasive than ever before. You're sitting in a Silicon Valley laboratory in 2019, watching as neuroscientists inject lab mice with a compound they call synthetic oxytocin 3, while monitoring their brain activity in real time. On the screens around you, you can see the exact moment when the chemical takes effect. Neural pathways lighting up in patterns that the scientists have learned to associate with romantic attachment and social bonding. But this isn't just academic research. This is the development of what amounts to a digital age love potion, designed to be administered through nasal sprays, skin patches, or even aerosol delivery systems. Welcome to the 21st century, Where love potions haven't disappeared, they've evolved into pharmaceutical precision weapons that make medieval bat blood look like children's vitamins. The modern era of love potion development began in the 1960s with the discovery of brain chemistry mechanisms that control romantic attachment, sexual desire, and emotional bonding. Scientists learned that human love wasn't just an abstract emotion. It was a specific neurochemical process that could be measured, analyzed, and potentially manipulated through targeted pharmaceutical intervention. Think ancient alchemy meets modern neuroscience, but with FDA approval and billion-dollar research budgets. The breakthrough came when researchers discovered that romantic love was primarily controlled by three key neurochemical systems: dopamine for motivation and reward, norepinephrine for attention and energy, and oxytocin for attachment and bonding. Understanding these systems gave scientists a roadmap for creating modern love potions that could target specific aspects of romantic experience with unprecedented precision. Modern pharmaceutical love potions operate through mechanisms that ancient alchemists could never have imagined. Instead of crude mixtures that affected the entire body, contemporary formulations can target specific brain receptors, alter neurotransmitter levels with surgical precision, and create romantic effects that are both more powerful and more predictable than anything achieved through traditional methods. The most sophisticated modern love potions are based on synthetic versions of naturally occurring brain chemicals that control romantic attachment. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, can now be synthesized in pharmaceutical laboratories and administered in doses that create intense feelings of emotional bonding and trust. Synthetic oxytocin formulations can create romantic attachment so powerful that subjects become emotionally dependent on the person who administered the chemical. Unlike traditional love potions that created temporary infatuation, modern oxytocin-based formulations can establish lasting neurochemical bonds that persist long after the initial chemical effects have worn off. Research has shown that synthetic oxytocin can be administered through nasal sprays, skin absorption, or even airborne delivery systems that allow for covert administration without the victim's knowledge or consent. The effects can begin within minutes and create romantic attachment that feels completely natural to the person experiencing it. Fun fact that will make you reconsider modern dating: many of the products marketed as perfumes, colognes, and pheromone enhancers actually contain synthetic versions of chemicals that can influence romantic attraction and emotional bonding through mechanisms that consumers don't understand. But synthetic oxytocin is just one component of modern pharmaceutical love potion development. Researchers have also learned to manipulate dopamine systems to create artificial feelings of romantic excitement and motivation, and norepinephrine systems to generate the obsessive focus and emotional intensity associated with romantic infatuation. Modern pharmaceutical companies have developed what they call cocktail formulations that combine multiple neurochemical targets to create comprehensive romantic experiences that encompass all aspects of natural love, from initial attraction to long-term attachment. These cocktail formulations can be customized based on detailed psychological profiles of intended victims, creating personalized love potions that exploit specific neurochemical vulnerabilities. The level of precision available to modern love potion manufacturers surpasses anything that Renaissance alchemists could have achieved through individual observation and customization. The administration methods for modern love potions have also evolved far beyond anything imagined by traditional practitioners. Contemporary delivery systems include time delivery capsules that can create romantic effects over extended periods, transdermal patches that deliver chemicals through skin contact, and even smart contact lenses that can release chemicals directly into the bloodstream through eye absorption. Perhaps the most disturbing development is the creation of environmental delivery systems that can expose entire populations to love-enhancing chemicals through air conditioning systems, water supplies, or mass-market consumer products. These systems allow for romantic manipulation on a scale that individual love potion administration could never achieve. You're walking through a shopping mall in 2020, unaware that the ambient scenting system isn't just providing pleasant aromas. It's delivering synthetic pheromones and mood-enhancing chemicals that are designed to increase your likelihood of making impulse purchases and forming positive emotional associations with specific brands. The line between marketing and romantic manipulation has become so blurred that most people can't tell the difference. The commercialization of modern love potion technology has created industries that operate with complete legal legitimacy while engaging in activities that would have been considered magical assault in previous eras. Contemporary companies market products that can influence romantic attraction, enhance sexual performance, and create emotional bonding under the guise of legitimate consumer goods. The dietary supplement industry has become a major vehicle for distributing modern love potions. Products marketed as mood enhancers, confidence boosters, and social supplements often contain pharmaceutical-grade compounds that can significantly alter romantic behavior and emotional responses. These supplements are typically marketed to people who are experiencing romantic difficulties or social anxiety, exploiting psychological vulnerabilities in ways that traditional love potion practitioners would have found familiar. The difference is that modern marketing techniques are far more sophisticated than anything available to ancient alchemists. Modern supplement companies use detailed psychological profiling to identify potential customers who are most likely to be vulnerable to romantic manipulation. They target advertising to people who have recently experienced relationship breakups, social rejection, or other forms of romantic disappointment. The products themselves often contain combinations of synthetic hormones, neurotransmitter precursors, and mood-altering compounds that can create significant changes in personality, behavior, and romantic attractiveness. Users often experience genuine improvements in confidence and social success, making them loyal customers who don't realize they're dependent on chemical enhancement. But perhaps the most insidious aspect of modern commercial love potion culture is its integration with digital technology. Smartphone apps, social media platforms, and dating services now collect detailed psychological data that can be used to optimize romantic manipulation strategies for individual use. Dating apps use algorithms that incorporate psychological profiling, behavioral analysis, and even biometric data to determine which potential romantic partners are most likely to be vulnerable to specific forms of emotional manipulation. The matching systems used by these platforms often prioritize psychological compatibility in ways that make users more susceptible to developing intense romantic attachments. Think ancient love potion targeting, but with artificial intelligence and access to your entire digital life history. The data collected by digital platforms includes information about users' emotional vulnerabilities, relationship patterns, sexual preferences, and psychological triggers that can be used to create highly personalized romantic manipulation strategies. This information is often shared with third-party companies that specialize in developing targeted romantic enhancement products. Some dating platforms have experimented with incorporating chemical delivery systems into their services. These might include scented profile pictures that release pheromones when viewed on mobile devices, or mood enhancement features that subtly influence users' emotional states during digital interactions. The integration of chemical and digital romantic manipulation has created possibilities for controlling romantic behavior that surpass anything achieved by traditional love potion cultures. Modern platforms can influence not just individual romantic relationships, but entire cultures of romantic behavior through carefully orchestrated psychological and chemical interventions. The pharmaceutical industry has also developed what it calls relationship enhancement medications that are prescribed through legitimate medical channels for the treatment of social anxiety, depression, and relationship problems. Many of these medications have effects on romantic behavior that are indistinguishable from traditional love potions. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, and ADHD treatments can significantly alter personality characteristics that affect romantic attractiveness and relationship success. While these medications are prescribed for legitimate medical purposes, their effects on romantic behavior are often more significant than their therapeutic benefits. Some pharmaceutical companies have begun developing medications that are specifically designed to enhance romantic relationships. These relationship drugs are marketed as treatments for relationship problems, but they often work by chemically altering one or both partners' emotional responses to create artificial compatibility. The medicalization of romantic enhancement has made chemical romantic manipulation socially acceptable in ways that would have been impossible for traditional love potion practitioners. When romantic manipulation is prescribed by doctors and dispensed by pharmacists, it becomes healthcare rather than magical assault. But modern love potion culture has also produced sophisticated countermeasures and protective technologies that surpass anything available to historical victims of romantic manipulation. You're looking at a smartphone app called ChemCheck that can analyze your saliva, breath, or even ambient air to detect the presence of synthetic pheromones, mood-altering compounds, and other chemicals that might be used for romantic manipulation. The app connects to a database of known love potion ingredients and can provide real-time alerts when you're being exposed to potentially dangerous substances. Modern protective technologies include wearable devices that can monitor physiological indicators of chemical romantic manipulation, smartphone apps that can detect synthetic pheromones and mood-altering compounds, and even genetic testing services that can identify individual vulnerabilities to specific types of romantic manipulation. The development of protective technologies has created a new kind of chemical arms race between those seeking to control romantic behavior and those seeking to maintain romantic autonomy. Modern love potion manufacturers must constantly develop new formulations and delivery methods to stay ahead of detection and countermeasure technologies. But perhaps the most significant protection against modern romantic manipulation comes from education and awareness. Understanding how modern love potions work and recognizing the signs of chemical romantic manipulation can help people maintain control over their own romantic choices. Modern victims of romantic manipulation often experience characteristic patterns of behavior and emotional response that can be recognized and addressed through appropriate intervention. These patterns include sudden, intense romantic attachment to previously unattractive partners, loss of critical thinking about romantic relationships, and emotional dependency that feels disproportionate to the actual quality of the relationship. The psychological rehabilitation techniques developed for recovering from modern romantic manipulation combine traditional psychotherapy approaches with medical interventions designed to restore normal neurochemical balance. These treatments can help victims regain their natural emotional responses and decision-making capacity. But as sophisticated as modern love potion technology has become, some of the most effective contemporary romantic manipulation still relies on traditional psychological and social techniques that don't require any chemical intervention at all. You're scrolling through Instagram in 2023, looking at carefully curated posts that have been designed by teams of psychologists and marketing specialists to trigger specific emotional responses related to romantic desire and social validation. The images, captions, and even the timing of posts have been optimized to create psychological states that make you more vulnerable to romantic manipulation and more likely to seek validation through consumer purchases. Social media platforms have become sophisticated systems for psychological romantic manipulation that operate through mechanisms that traditional love potion practitioners would have envied. These platforms can influence romantic behavior through carefully controlled exposure to images, messages, and social interactions that shape users' emotional responses and romantic expectations. The algorithms that control social media content delivery are designed to create psychological dependencies that resemble the effects of traditional love potions. Users become emotionally attached to the validation and social connection provided by these platforms in ways that can override their natural judgment about romantic relationships. Social media romantic manipulation operates through what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, providing unpredictable rewards that create psychological addiction, stronger than consistent positive feedback. This creates emotional states that make users more vulnerable to romantic manipulation from other sources. The sophistication of social media psychological manipulation has made it one of the most effective tools for controlling romantic behavior ever developed. Unlike traditional love potions that affected individual victims, social media platforms can influence the romantic behavior of entire populations simultaneously. Modern influencer culture has also created new forms of romantic manipulation that combine traditional psychological techniques with digital amplification. Social media influencers often promote romantic ideals, relationship goals, and lifestyle choices that serve commercial interests rather than genuine human well-being. The products and behaviors promoted through influencer marketing often include subtle forms of romantic manipulation designed to make followers more susceptible to commercial romantic enhancement products. This creates cultural environments where chemical romantic manipulation becomes normalized as part of contemporary lifestyle choices. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of contemporary romantic manipulation is its integration with artificial intelligence systems that can analyze individual psychological profiles and customize manipulation strategies with unprecedented precision. You're looking at a computer screen that displays your complete romantic vulnerability profile, a detailed analysis of your psychological weaknesses, relationship patterns, and neurochemical responses compiled from your digital activity, purchase history, biometric data, and social media behavior. The AI system has identified specific strategies for romantic manipulation that would be most effective against your particular psychological makeup, and it's generating personalized recommendations for products and experiences designed to exploit these vulnerabilities. Artificial intelligence systems now have access to psychological data about individuals that surpasses anything available to traditional love potion practitioners. These systems can analyze patterns in digital behavior, social interactions, consumer choices, and even physiological responses to create detailed profiles of romantic vulnerabilities and preferences. AI-powered romantic manipulation systems can generate personalized approaches that are optimized for specific individuals based on comprehensive analysis of their psychological characteristics. These systems can recommend specific love potion formulations, administration methods, and psychological manipulation strategies that are most likely to be effective against particular targets. The precision available to AI-powered romantic manipulation systems makes traditional love potion approaches look crude by comparison. Modern systems can predict with remarkable accuracy how specific individuals will respond to particular forms of romantic manipulation, and they can adjust strategies in real time based on feedback from ongoing manipulation attempts. AI systems are also being used to develop new love potion formulations through analysis of neurochemical research, pharmaceutical databases, and user response data. These systems can identify novel combinations of compounds that might be effective for romantic manipulation, and they can predict potential side effects and optimal dosing strategies. The automation of love potion development through artificial intelligence has accelerated the pace of innovation in romantic manipulation technology, while reducing the costs and risks associated with human experimentation. But AI-powered romantic manipulation systems also represent the culmination of thousands of years of human attempts to control romantic behavior through technological means. What began with crude herbal mixtures and magical rituals has evolved into sophisticated technological systems that can manipulate human emotion with precision that ancient alchemists could never have imagined. The question that remains is whether humanity will use these technological capabilities to enhance genuine romantic connection and mutual fulfillment, or whether they will be used primarily as tools for exploitation and control. The history of love potions suggests that new technologies for influencing romantic behavior are typically used first for manipulation and control, and only later adapted for more benevolent purposes. The challenge for contemporary society is to develop ethical frameworks and regulatory systems that can harness the benefits of romantic enhancement technology while protecting people from manipulation and exploitation. As we prepare to explore the contemporary landscape of romantic manipulation and the emerging technologies that will shape the future of human romantic behavior, remember that we're not just discussing technological innovations. We're examining the culmination of humanity's longest-running experiment in emotional control. The modern world has created possibilities for romantic manipulation that surpass the wildest dreams of ancient alchemists. But it has also created new forms of vulnerability that require constant vigilance to protect our autonomy over our own emotional lives. The next time you feel an unexpected romantic attraction, experience a sudden change in your emotional state, or find yourself drawn to someone who doesn't match your usual preferences, take a moment to consider whether your feelings might be influenced by chemical, digital, or psychological manipulation that you haven't recognized. Because in the age of precision pharmaceuticals, artificial intelligence, and ubiquitous digital surveillance, the line between authentic romantic feeling and sophisticated manipulation has become so blurred that most people can't tell the difference. The ancient art of brewing love potions hasn't disappeared. It has evolved into forms so sophisticated and pervasive that they've become invisible parts of contemporary life. Understanding this evolution is essential for maintaining control over our own romantic destiny in an age when that control is more precious and more threatened than ever before. You're standing in your own bathroom in 2025 looking at yourself in the mirror while unconsciously applying products that would make ancient love potion brewers weep with envy. That confidence-boosting face cream contains synthetic pheromones. Your mood-enhancing toothpaste includes neurochemical precursors. Even your energizing shampoo delivers compounds through scalp absorption that subtly alter your brain chemistry. You've been administering love potions to yourself every morning for years, and you never even knew it. Welcome to the ultimate irony of love potion history. In our quest to protect ourselves from romantic manipulation, we've created a world where we voluntarily dose ourselves with chemical romantic enhancers more sophisticated than anything our ancestors ever dreamed possible. The contemporary landscape of romantic manipulation represents the culmination of 5,000 years of human experimentation with chemical emotional control. But unlike previous eras, where love potions were administered by desperate individuals targeting specific victims, modern romantic manipulation operates through vast commercial and technological systems that influence entire populations simultaneously. Think mass-market alchemy, but with global distribution networks and quarterly profit targets. The beauty industry has become the primary vehicle for delivering modern love potions to willing consumers. Products marketed as cosmetics, skincare, and personal care items routinely contain pharmaceutical-grade compounds that can influence mood, confidence, and social attractiveness in ways that their users don't recognize or understand. Modern cosmetic love potions operate through multiple delivery mechanisms simultaneously. Skincare products deliver neurochemical precursors through dermal absorption. Fragrances contain synthetic pheromones that can influence the romantic behavior of both the wearer and people around them. Even makeup includes compounds that can create psychological effects beyond simple visual enhancement. The sophistication of cosmetic love potion delivery systems surpasses anything achieved by traditional practitioners. Modern products can provide time-clement chemical effects that maintain optimal romantic enhancement throughout the day, automatic dosage adjustment based on environmental conditions, and even personalized formulations that adapt to individual brain chemistry. You're browsing the skincare section of Sephora in 2024, reading product descriptions that promise to boost confidence, enhance natural charisma, and optimize social energy. What you don't realize is that these marketing terms are code for specific neurochemical effects that the beauty industry has learnt to create through careful manipulation of brain chemistry. The $50 zero-cent serum you're considering contains compounds that will subtly alter your neurotransmitter levels in ways that make you more socially attractive and romantically confident. The beauty industry's approach to romantic enhancement represents a fundamental shift in love potion culture. Instead of targeting unwilling victims, modern beauty companies convince consumers to voluntarily purchase and apply chemical romantic enhancers by marketing them as legitimate self-improvement products. This voluntary approach is far more effective than traditional coercive love potion administration because it eliminates resistance and creates customer loyalty. People who experience positive romantic results from cosmetic love potions become repeat customers who actively seek out more powerful formulations. The psychological conditioning involved in cosmetic love potion marketing is remarkably sophisticated. Beauty companies use detailed consumer research to identify insecurities and vulnerabilities that can be exploited through romantic enhancement products. Modern beauty marketing targets specific psychological triggers related to social acceptance, romantic desirability, and personal worth. The messaging is designed to create emotional states where consumers feel compelled to purchase romantic enhancement products as solutions to fundamental problems with their romantic attractiveness. The integration of social media with beauty marketing has created feedback loops that amplify the effectiveness of cosmetic love potion promotion. Consumers are encouraged to share their experiences with beauty products through platforms that can analyze their emotional responses and optimize future marketing strategies. But cosmetic love potions are just one aspect of contemporary, voluntary romantic manipulation. The food and beverage industry has also developed sophisticated methods for delivering mood-altering and attraction-enhancing compounds through products that consumers use daily. You're standing in line at Starbucks in 2025, ordering a mood boost macchiato that contains carefully calibrated amounts of synthetic neurotransmitter precursors designed to create optimal emotional states for social interaction. The barista doesn't mention that your $7 zero-cents coffee contains pharmaceutical compounds that will influence your romantic behavior for the next 6 hours. She doesn't need to. The effects speak for themselves, and customers keep coming back for more. The food industry's approach to romantic enhancement operates through what researchers call functional foods, products that provide specific physiological effects beyond basic nutrition. Many contemporary food and beverage products contain compounds that can influence mood, energy, social confidence, and romantic attractiveness. Coffee shops have become particularly sophisticated in their use of mood-altering additives. Beyond traditional caffeine, modern coffee formulations often include adaptogens, nootropics, and synthetic compounds that can create specific emotional and cognitive states optimized for social interaction. The beverage industry has also developed social enhancement drinks that contain combinations of compounds designed to improve conversation skills, increase empathy, and enhance romantic attractiveness. These products are marketed to people who want to improve their dating success or social confidence. Energy drinks represent perhaps the most obvious example of commercial romantic enhancement. Many energy drink formulations contain compounds that can significantly alter personality characteristics related to confidence, risk-taking behavior, and social dominance, all factors that influence romantic attractiveness. The psychological effects of energy drink consumption often include increased boldness in social situations, reduced social anxiety, and enhanced self-confidence. These effects can dramatically improve romantic success, creating loyal customer bases who associate the products with improved social and romantic outcomes. But the sophistication of commercial romantic enhancement extends far beyond obvious products like energy drinks and mood-boosting cosmetics. The modern consumer environment is saturated with subtle chemical influences that affect romantic behavior through mechanisms that most people never recognize. You're walking through a Target store in 2024, following a carefully designed path through departments that expose you to different scent combinations engineered to influence your emotional state and purchasing behavior. The fresh cotton scent in the clothing section contains synthetic compounds that increase feelings of comfort and social belonging. The tropical escape fragrance in the beauty department includes pheromone analogues that enhance romantic optimism. Even the clean mountain air scent in the electronic section contains mood stabilizers designed to reduce purchase anxiety. Retail environments have become sophisticated systems for psychological and chemical manipulation that can influence customers' emotional states, decision-making processes, and social behavior. The ambient scenting systems used by major retailers often deliver more than just pleasant aromas. They provide carefully formulated chemical experiences designed to optimize consumer behavior. The retail industry's use of environmental chemical manipulation represents a form of mass love potion administration that affects millions of people daily. Shopping centers, department stores, and even grocery stores use airborne chemical delivery systems that can influence romantic mood, social confidence, and emotional openness. These environmental systems can create psychological states that make shoppers more likely to purchase romantic enhancement products, more receptive to social interaction, and more optimistic about their romantic prospects. The effects are subtle enough that most people attribute their improved mood to the shopping experience itself, rather than chemical manipulation. The hospitality industry has also embraced environmental romantic enhancement as a standard business practice. Hotels, restaurants, spas, and entertainment venues routinely use chemical delivery systems that can influence guests' emotional states and social behavior. Hotel chains have developed signature scent programs that include compounds designed to create feelings of relaxation, social openness, and romantic receptivity. These formulations are often customized for different types of venues. Business hotels might use formulations that enhance confidence and social networking, while resort properties might emphasize romantic mood enhancement and emotional intimacy. Restaurants have become particularly sophisticated in their use of chemical romantic enhancement. Many upscale dining establishments use airborne delivery systems that can influence diners' emotional states, enhance their perception of food quality, and create psychological conditions favorable to romantic interaction. Think ancient tavern atmosphere manipulation, but with pharmaceutical precision and controlled dosing. The integration of chemical romantic enhancement with hospitality services has created environments where people experience artificial romantic and social enhancement without recognizing the source of their improved emotional states. This creates positive associations with specific venues and brands that can influence future consumer behavior. But perhaps the most pervasive form of contemporary romantic manipulation occurs through the pharmaceutical industry's development of prescription medications that affect romantic behavior as secondary effects of treating other conditions. You're sitting in a psychiatrist's office in 2024, discussing treatment options for anxiety that's been affecting your work performance. The doctor prescribes a medication that will indeed help with your anxiety, but what she doesn't emphasize is that it will also significantly alter your personality in ways that affect romantic attractiveness. You'll become more confident, more socially outgoing, and more willing to take romantic risks. Your dating life will improve dramatically, but you'll attribute the change to reduced anxiety rather than chemical personality modification. The pharmaceutical industry has created a vast system of legal romantic enhancement through medications that are prescribed for legitimate medical conditions, but have profound effects on characteristics that influence romantic success. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, ADHD treatments, and other psychiatric drugs can significantly alter personality traits related to confidence, social skills, and romantic behavior. Many people who begin taking psychiatric medications experience dramatic improvements in their romantic lives that go far beyond the resolution of their original symptoms. These medications can create personality changes that make people more attractive, more confident, and more successful in romantic relationships. The romance-enhancing effects of psychiatric medications are often more significant than their therapeutic benefits, but patients typically attribute their improved romantic success to feeling better, rather than to chemical personality modification. This creates a form of romantic enhancement that people accept and even embrace because it's medically prescribed. The medical legitimacy of psychiatric medications makes them culturally acceptable forms of romantic enhancement that would be considered unethical if administered through other means. When chemical personality modification is prescribed by doctors and dispensed by pharmacists, it becomes healthcare rather than romantic manipulation. But the pharmaceutical industry has also begun developing medications that are specifically designed to enhance romantic relationships and sexual performance. These lifestyle medications represent a new category of legal love potions that are marketed directly to consumers through medical channels. Medications for erectile dysfunction, low libido, and sexual performance anxiety have created a legitimate pharmaceutical market for products that enhance romantic and sexual experience. These medications often have effects that extend far beyond their intended therapeutic targets, influencing confidence, social behavior, and romantic attractiveness. The success of lifestyle medications has encouraged pharmaceutical companies to develop new products that target other aspects of romantic enhancement. Research is currently underway on medications that could improve social skills, enhance emotional intelligence, and increase romantic charisma through targeted neurochemical interventions. Some pharmaceutical companies are developing what they call relationship enhancement medications that are designed to be taken by couples to improve compatibility, communication, and emotional intimacy. These medications work by synchronizing neurochemical states between partners in ways that create artificial emotional harmony. The medicalization of romantic enhancement has made chemical relationship manipulation socially acceptable and commercially viable in ways that traditional love potion practitioners could never have achieved. Modern pharmaceutical romantic enhancement operates with complete legal legitimacy while producing effects that surpass anything accomplished through historical love potion methods. But as sophisticated as contemporary pharmaceutical romantic enhancement has become, it represents only one aspect of a larger technological revolution that is transforming human romantic behavior through digital and artificial intelligence systems. You're using a dating app in 2025 that analyzes your facial expressions, voice patterns, and physiological responses during video calls to determine your optimal romantic matches. But what you don't realize is that the app is also using this data to identify your psychological vulnerabilities and customize manipulation strategies designed to maximize your emotional investment in the platform. The perfect match you're excited about meeting has been selected not because of genuine compatibility, but because psychological profiling has determined that they're most likely to create obsessive romantic attachment that will keep you using the app. Digital platforms have created new forms of romantic manipulation that operate through psychological rather than chemical mechanisms, but produce effects that are often more powerful than traditional love potions. Dating apps, social media platforms, and relationship services use artificial intelligence to analyze user behavior and optimize romantic manipulation strategies for individual consumers. Modern dating platforms collect detailed psychological data about users' romantic preferences, behavioral patterns, emotional vulnerabilities, and relationship history. This information is used to create personalized manipulation strategies that can influence romantic behavior with precision that surpasses anything achieved through chemical means. The algorithms that control dating app experiences are designed to create psychological states that maximize user engagement and emotional investment. These algorithms can manipulate which potential partners users see, when they receive messages, and how their own profiles are presented to others in ways that create artificial scarcity, competition, and romantic urgency. Dating app manipulation operates through carefully controlled, intermittent reinforcement schedules that create psychological addiction similar to gambling. Users experience unpredictable rewards that create emotional dependencies stronger than consistent positive feedback. The psychological manipulation techniques used by dating platforms can create artificial romantic obsession that feels completely natural to users. People who become emotionally dependent on dating apps often experience symptoms that are indistinguishable from traditional love potion effects. Loss of critical thinking about romantic relationships, obsessive focus on romantic validation, and inability to form genuine emotional connections outside the manipulated environment. Social media platforms have also developed sophisticated systems for influencing romantic behavior through curated content exposure and social validation mechanisms. These platforms can shape users' romantic expectations, relationship goals, and partner preferences through carefully controlled exposure to specific types of romantic content. Instagram, TikTok, and other visual platforms use psychological profiling to determine which types of romantic content will have the strongest emotional impact on individual users. The algorithms can create artificial romantic standards and expectations that make users more vulnerable to manipulation from other sources. The integration of social media with commercial romantic enhancement creates feedback loops that amplify the effectiveness of both digital and chemical manipulation. Users who are psychologically primed through social media exposure become more receptive to cosmetic, pharmaceutical, and other forms of romantic enhancement. But perhaps the most disturbing development in contemporary romantic manipulation is the emergence of artificial intelligence systems that can analyze individual psychology and generate personalized manipulation strategies with unprecedented precision. You're looking at your phone in 2025, reading a text message from someone you met on a dating app. The message seems perfectly crafted to appeal to your specific interests and personality traits. What you don't know is that it wasn't written by your romantic interest. It was generated by an AI system that analyzed your digital behavior, psychological profile, and communication patterns to create the most emotionally manipulative message possible. The person you think you're falling for is actually an artificial intelligence that has been trained to exploit your specific romantic vulnerabilities. Artificial intelligence systems now have access to psychological data about individuals that enables romantic manipulation strategies that surpass anything available to human practitioners. AI systems can analyze patterns in digital behavior, social interactions, consumer choices, and even physiological responses to create detailed profiles of romantic vulnerabilities and preferences. AI-powered romantic manipulation can operate through multiple channels simultaneously: dating apps, social media, advertising, consumer products, and even smart home devices can all be coordinated to create comprehensive manipulation strategies targeting specific individuals. The sophistication of AI romantic manipulation makes it virtually undetectable to human awareness. AI systems can generate personalized content, communication strategies, and environmental influences that feel completely natural, while being precisely engineered to create specific emotional responses. Some AI systems are being developed that can impersonate human romantic partners with such sophistication that their targets never realize they're interacting with artificial intelligence. These systems can maintain long-term romantic relationships that provide emotional satisfaction while serving the commercial interests of their operators. The development of AI romantic manipulation represents the ultimate evolution of love potion technology. Instead of crude chemical substances that affect everyone similarly, AI systems can create personalized psychological manipulation that is optimized for specific individuals and updated in real time based on their responses. But the proliferation of sophisticated romantic manipulation technologies has also created new forms of resistance and protection that represent the most advanced countermeasures in the history of love potion culture. You're wearing a smartwatch in 2025 that monitors your neurochemical status, emotional state, and psychological responses in real time. When the device detects patterns consistent with artificial romantic manipulation, it sends alerts to your phone, and can even automatically block access to apps or websites that might be exploiting your vulnerabilities. The watch can also analyze environmental chemicals, detect synthetic pheromones, and warn you when you're being exposed to potential mood-altering substances. Modern protective technologies include wearable devices that can monitor physiological indicators of romantic manipulation, smartphone apps that can detect and block digital manipulation strategies, and even genetic testing services that can identify individual vulnerabilities to specific types of romantic enhancement. The development of protective technologies has created a new kind of arms race between those seeking to control romantic behavior and those seeking to maintain romantic autonomy. Modern romantic manipulation systems must constantly evolve to stay ahead of detection and countermeasure technologies. Educational initiatives have also emerged that teach people to recognize and resist romantic manipulation. These programs combine traditional psychology education with modern understanding of pharmaceutical, digital, and AI manipulation techniques. Support groups and online communities have developed for people recovering from various forms of romantic manipulation. These communities share information about manipulation techniques, recovery strategies, and protective measures that can help people maintain control over their romantic lives. Legal and regulatory frameworks are slowly emerging to address the most egregious forms of contemporary romantic manipulation. Some jurisdictions have begun treating certain forms of digital romantic manipulation as consumer fraud or even sexual assault. But perhaps the most important protection against contemporary romantic manipulation comes from understanding how these systems work and maintaining critical awareness of the forces that influence our romantic behavior. The modern world has created romantic manipulation systems so sophisticated and pervasive that they've become invisible parts of contemporary life. Every day, we're exposed to chemical, digital, and psychological influences that affect our romantic behavior in ways that most people never recognize. The products we use, the places we go, the media we consume, and even the medications we take can all influence our romantic behavior in ways that serve commercial interests rather than our own health behavior. Understanding these influences is essential for maintaining autonomy over our own romantic lives. The history of love potions teaches us that the desire to control romantic behavior is a constant in human culture, and that each generation develops new techniques that are presented as more scientific, ethical, or effective than what came before. But the fundamental dynamic remains the same. Those who control the technologies that influence romantic behavior have power over the most intimate aspects of human experience. As we move into an era where romantic manipulation will become even more sophisticated through advances in neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology, the ability to recognize and resist these influences becomes more important than ever. The ancient alchemists who brewed love potions from bat blood and human hair could never have imagined a world where their primitive techniques would evolve into precision pharmaceutical systems, AI-powered psychological manipulation, and ubiquitous environmental chemical delivery. But their fundamental goal, controlling human romantic behavior through technological means, has not only survived, but has become the foundation of multiple billion-dollar industries. The question that faces our generation is whether we will use our unprecedented understanding of romantic manipulation to enhance genuine human connection and mutual fulfillment, or whether we will allow these technologies to create a world where authentic romantic experience becomes impossible to distinguish from sophisticated manipulation. The choice is ours, but only if we understand what we're choosing between. The first step toward maintaining romantic autonomy in the age of precision emotional manipulation is recognizing that the battle for control over human romantic behavior is not a relic of ancient history. It's the defining challenge of our time. Every romantic feeling you experience, every attraction you feel, every emotional connection you form might be influenced by forces that you don't recognize or understand. The only protection against this influence is awareness, education, and the commitment to maintaining control over your own emotional life. Because in a world where love potions have evolved from crude folk remedies into sophisticated technological systems, The most radical act might be choosing to experience genuine, unmanipulated human emotion. And that choice becomes more precious and more difficult with each passing day. The ancient art of brewing love potions may have started with desperate individuals mixing bizarre ingredients in dark rooms, but it has evolved into a technological and commercial ecosystem that touches every aspect of modern romantic life. Understanding this evolution isn't just about historical curiosity. It's about maintaining human agency in an age when that agency is under unprecedented assault. The next time you feel an unexpected romantic attraction, experience a sudden change in your emotional state, or find yourself drawn to someone who doesn't match your usual preferences, remember that your feelings might be the result of sophisticated manipulation systems that have been perfected over thousands of years of human experimentation. And remember that the greatest love potion of all might be the courage to experience genuine, unmanipulated human emotion in a world that profits from controlling how we feel about each other. So, the next time someone asks you whether love potions are real, you can tell them with absolute certainty, yes, they're real, they're everywhere, and they're more sophisticated than our ancestors ever dreamed possible. The only question is whether you're going to be their victim or their master. And that choice, at least for now, is still yours to make.